more churches, the more homicides. Now, a conclusion that some of the people in the room might draw from that would be to say, well, that's causing that. No, it's not causing that. It's a correlation. It associates that among these variables. Often what we run into in science is we have third, fourth, fifth variables who are causing that. Here the solution is very simple. Bigger cities have more populated areas and therefore have more people of different kinds of faiths, and they build buildings to worship their respective gods, and therefore bigger cities will naturally have higher homicide rates, have higher churches, more amounts of churches. Yeah, so it's something we can very easily see. You can drive certain effects with underlying statistical concepts which are completely misunderstood. Unfortunately, I wasn't here when the so-called expert talked about, the influence of IQ, but every single flaw you can have in statistical reasoning about not understanding what a correlation is, how not to understand normal distributions with regard to intelligence scores, something psychologists are actually trained on, because it's a really careful topic to know about that. I have colleagues in the humanities and social sciences who can tell you a lot more better ideas about the historical and the important policy implications of that. If you misunderstand them, you're basically a eugenicist. If you're not understanding the statistical concepts behind that, you say potentially really racist or inappropriate things. So it's important that we have critical thinking skills, that we have proper reasoning in these contexts. At the same time, what else did I teach today? I taught human cognitive evolution. It's interesting to see how certain things are really appealing. And as a psychologist, I'll be the first one to understand that anxieties are real, that fears are real, that concerns are real, but they need to be grounded in science. I work at a university. I can talk to a professor in mathematics. I can talk to a professor in environmental engineering. I can talk to a professor in whatever field, because we share a common knowledge base, and we share a common language and understanding of how the world works. But the moment I walk into that math professor's office and say, did you know that 2 and 2 is 5? There is very little he can do for me besides being compassionate and listening to me, because I'm undermining anything that him and I believe in or should believe in order to make progress. So I would really kindly ask everyone to focus on the scientific principles of these studies. Plenty of information has been provided to the board. Many of these studies have been exemplified to you. You need to read them and you need to understand them in all due respect. And if you don't, then you need to bring in more experts, like some of the experts we heard in the past that can explain you those things. We cannot put Facebook posts and social media descriptions on the same level as scientific journal publications. Science is not perfect, I'm aware of that. You have fake scientific journals, you have scientific studies who are reported in such a way that they cannot be easily understood. This is what science is all about, that we debate that. But the actual scientific evidence in this context is crystal clear. And there are many concerned scientists here who see that a small vocal minority is trying to take healthcare away from our citizens, and I'm not going to let this happen. If unfortunately that vote turns into such a direction that will happen, then we need to move into the next step and see how we can get that back and how we can make a change in our vision of the community, that we do not run into these problems again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Shelley O'Clair, 110 Main Street. Well, I am part of that small vocal minority that is not so small, actually. Did not show up at the dog and pony show in blue t-shirts and all of that, but more power to you, obviously. When we talk about anxieties and fears being grounded in science, there is some validity. We've had a lot of people say, oh, there's studies on both sides going back and forth. But what I keep hearing the dentists and people saying is that it is safe and effective for teeth. And I agree completely. It is safe and effective for your teeth. However, I've given you each a copy of what I did, because this is a 233-page report, 2006 National Research Council, Fluoride in Drinking Water, a scientific review of EPA standards. I took the findings in each of the sections that relate to our physical health, genotoxicity and carcinogenic, you get it. Reproductive and development effects of fluoride, musculoskeletal, etc. There's 6 of them here. I took all of those. I didn't put the dental in here because it mostly says it's good for dental, and nobody is arguing that it is good for your teeth. It is wonderful for your teeth. Take it, please, if you want. But this report, the findings and the recommendations that I just copied from the end of each of those sections, this is the summary of what they have to say about this. And this is an esteemed panel of scientists that are, you cannot reproach their credentials and who this was done for. And each of these categories lists concerns about what fluoride does to the rest of the body. The teeth is great. What happens to the rest of the body? And we just, I mean, people have been saying this all night, and we just have to keep pounding on that. Because saying it's effective is true for the teeth. You know, there's also the issue of the pharmaceutical grade that dentists use. That's awesome. You know, I hope everybody is using that. The industrial grade that goes into the water, I'm not going to go into all of the problems with that, but I do have, and I will share it with the board, the trustees, I do have a document, a deposition from an NSF 60 standards person who is supposed to be, they have the standards for fluorosilicates for water that shows that they're not doing an excellent job. Stuff's coming from smokestacks in China, okay? China. We all know about China's environmental standards, and they are not doing the job they need to do, and it can take up to 12 months for a problem to come through that they're aware of. So that is a liability, and maybe not to the village, but you know, I think the trustees can make everybody happy here. I liked a lot what I heard Susan Powers and Rose Revesi talk about, that we need to reach these people. The water is going down the drain. Jerry said this water is going down the drain. Only a small percentage of it is going into the mouths of people that actually need it. And what about the people outside of the village, you know, in the town and elsewhere? We really should be doing, and I liked what Jerry had to say. He has a program. There's a program that we can put in place as a village, as a town, that can reach those kids. And I'm sorry, Maggie, that you missed his presentation. I really hope you'll go back, and there's a videotape being made, because he has a proposal that's of great interest, and it can make everybody happy. The people who need it and want it can get it to their teeth, and everybody else that's gonna be hopping mad if we continue it won't be yelling at you guys. And vice versa, if we, you know, so I just hope that we can do something that everybody can be happy and everybody can have the proper dental health, because it is so important. We all know this. Nobody wants kids to not get the fluoride they need, but where they need it. Is my time about up? Yeah. Okay. I won't share the rest then, thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Fischler, I have a question. So for the sake of the missing board member, I have handouts of what my speech was. Could I supply that to the missing, and any other board members that would like to have copies? Okay, I didn't realize we could do this.
Mr. Laurie will give the testimony. Sir? I'll wait for you to.
So my name is Dr. Andrew Williams. I live at 5 Missouri Ave here in the village of Potsdam. So first of all, I want to thank the village trustees for patiently listening to this lengthy discussion about the decision to continue water fluoridation. I would actually argue that the decision is fairly straightforward. Community water fluoridation is a well-established, scientifically supported, safe, effective, and economical way for us to continue to improve the health and safety of our residents. Fluoridation prevents a common yet serious disease. Though dental infections often start in childhood, many adults spend their lives requiring expensive and sometimes extensive dental treatment to repair infected teeth. The connection between oral health and physical health, including heart disease, diabetes, poor birth outcome, and autoimmune disease is well established. Untreated dental infections can lead to serious and even deadly illnesses such as bacterial endocarditis and brain abscesses. Fluoridation is effective. There are initial studies and contemporary studies that show there's at least a 25% reduction in dental infections, and the benefit is for children and for adults. The benefit, and I want to emphasize this, is separate and distinct from the benefit of topical fluoride products that was brought up before. Fluoridation's record of safety is well established. There's thousands of studies that demonstrate this at 0.7 parts per million, which is the goal here. However, fear-mongering by the anti-fluoride lobbyists is often clouding the discussion. Alex Jones, Dr. Mercola, Paul Conant, they often misrepresent information, cherry-pick data, ignore significant methodological flaws, and promote discredited studies in their effort to provide fear, to create fear about fluoride. The anti-fluoride lobby strives to create an impression that there's a significant scientific controversy about the safety of fluoridation when that does not exist. Just as you can find scientists who deny climate change, doctors who are anti-vaccine, and historians who deny the Holocaust, you can find outliers who support the anti-fluoride lobby. You might already know that one of the founders of the anti-fluoride movement, known as Dr. Y, wrote an entire book purporting that HIV does not cause AIDS. We don't need this kind of pseudoscience determining public policy. On another issue, fluoride is not a medicine. Fluoride is no different than chlorine that we use to prevent dangerous waterborne illnesses, and no court has ever agreed with the idea that it's a medicine. The fluoride ions that we drink in fluoridated water are identical to the fluoride ions that already exist in our water naturally. On another vein, just as we fortify milk with vitamin D, salt with iodine, cereals with folic acid to reduce pain and suffering among our population, we can optimally fluoridate water. There is a choice. So for the few who do not want to drink fluoridated tap water, this handful of people can use affordable filters or bottled water. Fluoridation is ethical. Like any other public health measure, a community identifies a significant threat to the health and safety of its residents and implements a remedy that provides the greatest benefit for the greatest number with the least risk. It would be highly unethical to remove a well-established, scientifically supported, safe, effective public health measure that reduces the incidence of a common serious disease. If the village chooses to stop fluoridation, we will take choice away from the vast majority of residents who are requesting this effective and safe intervention. If we stop fluoridation, your residents will suffer. Those who will suffer the most are the children and adults who already suffer healthcare disparities. Your decision to continue fluoridation is supported by every single reputable regulatory and healthcare authority in this country who have reviewed historic and contemporary literature on this. The list includes the CDC, Mayo Clinic, American Academy of Pediatrics, etc. Again, I think the decision is straightforward, and I'm asking that the board choose to continue community water fluoridation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wasn't going to speak today. Ginger Aiken, 7 Leroy Street. Just a couple things listening came to mind. One, I'm curious if most of Europe doesn't fluoridate their water. Why? Is that a choice? Or is it they don't have the resources or the money to fluoridate their water? And two, I'm wondering what their carries are. You know, if it's, you know, out of control, carries there. So, you know, we hear these numbers, but we don't hear the results of these numbers. Also, I would love and actually advocate for more education in the schools, for topical fluoride treatments, rinse and swish and spit treatments. It is not only fluoride, but the other things we put in our bodies. You know, we as a county have many, many health disparities here that we need education on. We need more and more and more education. Unfortunately, once again, this burden is placed on our healthcare and dental providers who are already overburdened. So, again, I advocate for this. It's going to take a lot of money, it's gonna take more healthcare providers, and I think that this would be money well spent. And something that we should move forward and hopefully encourage the community to support. In the meantime, water fluoridation is what we have. Again, just echoing what other people said, it's safe, effective, it's what we have in place right now. While we work together on promoting some more of these health advancements and alternatives, I think that it would be in the best interest of the community to keep the fluoride in the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Young lady first.
Sorry, I'll talk while he is occupied. Sorry. I'm Alexandra Wilkie, you've heard me speak before, and I also just had a couple thoughts sitting here. We've heard a lot of great experts tonight and people with really passionate viewpoints, and I truly do believe that those who are worried about fluoridation are truly afraid, and I think that's rather tragic. For the rest of us, I have a small daughter here. I think about her. I'm actually pregnant again, and I gave birth in Potsdam Hospital. I'll do the same again. You know, my doctor lives literally right down the street from me and drinks fluoridated water as well. It's funny, someone was just talking about the supposed risk in utero for drinking fluoridated water on my child's IQ. You know, I think about if that's true, that's so interesting because, you know, my doctor, there are so many things I have to avoid in pregnancy, and this is never one that I've heard about. And in fact, when you look at the science behind it, oftentimes we're talking about studies, speaking about environmental standards in China, we're talking about villages in China with rates 10 times what we fluoridate our water levels to be here in the village of Potsdam. So it's a different issue. You know, and then you think about, well, if that were true, okay, we've been fluoridating Potsdam's water for 51 years. Canton has been without for, what, about 20? Wouldn't we start noticing that in the school districts that we would be having drastically different results in terms of test scores and learning outcomes for our children in Potsdam versus Canton? So far, I've seen nothing like that. And I think you can also ask the same question about some of these other supposed health effects. On the other hand, what we are hearing from our health professionals here today, very loudly, and in the doctor's office, if you were to ask them their advice, your dentist, your OBGYN, whomever it might be, what you hear is we need fluoridation and there's a clear benefit and our community has serious health disparities that this would help address. And I guess my last question that I ask myself is, if we can't stand for reason in Potsdam, if we can't stand for science in Potsdam, if we can't stand up for the most vulnerable among us here in Potsdam, New York, where else will that happen? I think today's the day to take the stand and just continue to fluoridate and continue to help those among us in the community.
Thank you. Sir?
My name is Nick Gardner. I am from Rossi, so an hour and 10 minutes the other side of the county. I'm a general dentist and former past president of the St. Lawrence County Dental Society. And I'm simply here to stand up in support of continued fluoridation of the water supply in Potsdam. It was important enough for me to travel here today and listen to both sides of the story. And I just want the village board to know that in addition to the letter that I wrote to you, Mayor, I'm strongly in support of continuing this program. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So my name is Eric Lopshire. I didn't prepare a speech today. I actually just came from a speaking course where I messed up my speech, so bear with me as I forget half my words and half the thoughts I want to present to you guys. I didn't come up here to take shots at anyone. What I see in society today is we're getting caught up in our own ideas, and we're confusing our opinions with our identities sometimes. I mean, you can see on both sides here, people are very caught up in this issue on both sides, like I said. Really, I just urge everyone on both sides to look at scientific studies from the other side. Get a whole perspective on the situation, especially people on the board. I mean, I'm not gonna sway anyone here. We all have our opinions and we're kind of stuck in them, it seems. So really what I urge you guys to do is look at both sides. It's really in your guys' hands. So, I mean, you can kind of tell I'm sitting with a farmer, so you know what side I'm on. And you know, I don't choose to drink diet soda. I don't choose to drink caffeine. I don't really choose to put this in my water. So I recommend to stop, but you know, I think we're all very caring people, and at the end of the day, maybe we can grab a drink and be friends. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, before we close the public hearing, just want to let you know, we'll be opening our regular board meeting right after this. There will be 2 15-minute presentations. There will be public comment section of the agenda. After we go through a couple first items. And at this point, we are planning on having a resolution before the board on our September 17th board meeting. Monday, September 17th at 6 p.m. There will be a resolution on the agenda to speak to this issue. Thank you all for coming. Those that want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. Those that do not want to stay, that will close the public hearing at 6:30 p.m.